Hello, welcome to the James Cooley Show. It's your life, and I'm your host, Dr. James J.C. Cooley. And wow, I know all across the country it's hot, and most of the country are experiencing the heat, and it causing some issues with a lot of things. But I tell you, probably only got about another month or so of this, and it should be cooling off. I know Michelle and I are in Texas, and it's 108 degrees every day at least. So we have to try to stay in the house and kind of stay cool, So, but I cannot even start the show without bringing on the executive producer and also the co-host. How you doing, Dr. Michelle Cooper?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Yes. Audience, 10 o'clock at night, go out in the backyard. It's still 107 degrees. It's like, okay, this is not sleeping weather, even if you have AC or a fan. But, we're doing good. We're healthy. We're happy. And we're excited about the guest today. He's going to discuss a very important topic that affects so many people. So we're really excited to hear his thoughts, things that can be done. So I'm not going to give it away. Don't you give it away either, James.
Yeah, but we can just let them know that we're talking about blood pressure. We're talking about a lot of things, heart disease, and a lot of things. This doctor that's he's a returning guest on the show, an absolutely wonderful individual. And he's going to educate us on a lot of things that we need to understand and a lot of things that we might want to do and change our habits and our mindset so that we might be able to prevent as much as possible uh, the trials and tribulations from high blood pressures, heart attacks, and etc. So, Michelle, I'm excited. So wherever you're watching this at, whether you watch it on E360 TV, Transfer TV, YouTube, LinkedIn, or over 35 plus other live streaming network, welcome to the show. And if you want to be part of the conversation, all you have to do is go to the comments, ask any question that you might have. I promise you we'll get you an answer. Michelle, can you do the honors and introduce this great guest and the purpose, and let's do it.
Yes. Well, the title of today's show is Unmasking the Silent Killer. Dr. Garko's science-backed tips for managing high blood pressure. And we're having a conversation with practicing nutritionist, Dr. Michael Garko. We're going to talk about the prevalence and dangers of high blood pressure and, certain things we can do to, alleviate that or control that, such as weight management, lifestyle and dietary choices, proactive monitoring, and lifestyle adjustments. So let's talk a little bit about our guest today. He is a returning guest. Dr. Michael Garko is a nationally recognized credentialed nutritionist who is devoted to helping his clients and others take charge of their health. He earned a master's degree in human nutrition from the University of Bridgeport. Dr. Garko produced and hosted the popular health talk radio show called Let's Talk Nutrition, which aired for 2 hours a day, 5 days a week in over 500 cities, coast to coast, and was streamed around the world. He believes nutrition is the driving force by which health is created, sustained, and reclaimed. He also passionately believes that your health is your wealth, and your health is the wealth of those who care about and love you. He currently serves as a spokesman and nutritional consultant for Strauss Naturals. Please welcome back to the show, Dr. Michael Garko.
Oh, Dr. Cooley, thank you for that nice introduction. You read it with great enthusiasm and passion. I appreciate that. It's wonderful to see you and the other Dr. Cooley, both of you. You're wonderful people, and you're providing such a wonderful service to people that watch your show. It's and I'm very privileged to be here today.
Thank you.
Wow, Doc, you've been on the show a few months back, and can you just tell our viewers and listeners a little bit about you, where you grew up, and what keeps you passionate about the job and the things that you're doing?
That's a great question, because what keeps me passionate about what I'm doing finds its genesis in the way I grew up and where I grew up. I'm a product of an immigrant family. my mother and father immigrated to this country, and I was born and raised in Pittsburgh in a neighborhood that was highly, how can I put it, ethnically diverse. White, black, some Asians, not many, but many nationalities. And it was a multilingual household that I grew up in. My father spoke four or five languages. My mother spoke two. And we were poor, but I wouldn't have known it. Blue collar. My father worked for the railroad. Why is that all important? Because it taught me how to be open-minded, and it taught me how to embrace others who are different, because people in the neighborhood were different. You had Irish people, Italian people, Polish people, white people, black people, and it all worked. Not to say that it was perfect, but it had a great influence on my own journey through this thing we call life. And my mother and father encouraged me and urged me to get an education. And when I watched my mother, my father died, he was relatively young. My mom lived to be 93, and probably the greatest influence on my life. And I watched what I learned many things from my mother. But the one thing I learned was how to be in better service for others. Everybody loved my mother. Children, old people, young people, everybody would come to the house to see my mother because she would give of herself to others. And I watched that my whole life. And she was a person who could do a lot with a little. And she was so smart. So where I grew up and how I grew up influenced my journey. And here it brings me to you today. And I think I shared with you the last time I was on, I believe that this mantra that I have, I believe in it and I say it and I remind myself of it. And it's this: live your life mindfully in the moment, one day at a time, with purpose, passion, and gratitude, all in the better service of others. And I think that for me, that is a fulfilling way to live. And it keeps me humble to live that way. So, when I come across people such as yourself, it reminds me of how important it is to do the work that I'm doing. You're such good people. And that really inspires me. And I'm delighted to be here with you today. Honestly, I truly am.
Well, Dr. Mike, it's always a pleasure having you on. You're just so inspiring, and just brings so much inspiration to anyone that's listening to you talk at this time. So, Doc, what or who was the person or persons that inspired you to get into the healthcare industry?
Again, it was my journey has been varied. I mean, when you look at my background, my resume and curriculum vitae, I've done a lot of different things in my life. I was a professor, a corporate consultant. I've had clients on Madison Avenue, trial and jury consultant. But most of my life's been spent in an odd kind of way, and in different ways, teaching. And it was my mother, again, who inspired me on this journey. And now for a long time now, for the last almost 20 years, I've been involved in nutrition in terms of my public career. And it was my mother, the food in the house. Nutrition is about food. And the way she could cook and what she could do with food, I didn't realize at the time that it was later in my life and my career was going to have such an impact on me. And I don't know if you recall, on CNN, there was a show called with Anthony Bourdain.
Oh, yeah.
You remember Anthony Bourdain?
Yes.
The poor soul passed away, committed suicide. He wasn't a nutritionist. He was a chef. And his understanding of food and what it meant culturally, politically, spiritually, when he went to all these different cultures, for me, was inspiring. He knew more about food than most of my colleagues, including myself, who are trained nutritionists. He just understood what food meant. Food is not just food, Dr. Cooley. Nutrition and food is the pathway to better health. And like I say, it is the driving force by which we create, sustain, and can reclaim our health, wellness, and well-being. And we live in a culture now in our country where the food, the diet, generally is almost is a cardiogenic diet, a heart disease causing diet, as well as promoting it's a chronic disease diet constituted of processed foods that are high in salt, sugar, and fat, and other chemicals you can't even pronounce the names. And it's just a shame. We don't live longer these days. Average life expectancy is 78 years, point something or other, which is not all that great shakes, by the way. Other countries, people live a little bit longer, in some cases a lot longer. We live longer only because of medical science and able to control infectious disease. It's not because we're living healthy and eating healthy. It truly isn't. That's the truth. So we have 3/4 of our population is overweight or obese. That didn't happen because of some genetic mutation that happened to everybody all at once. That's impossible. It has occurred, and it will continue to occur because of our diet and our lifestyle. And so that's why your show is so important, when you have guests on who can talk about the relevance of diet, nutrition, and just generally food and what it means and how it's connected to our health, is a good day.
Wow. That is a great enough to my understanding what we put in our mouths and put in our system, and the effects if we put the wrong things in there is so important. So what we're going to do is take a station break, but we're going to come back. We're going to pick it up with Dr. Mike, and we are really going to delve heavy and deeply off in a lot of these topics. So if you want to be part of the conversation, all you do is whichever platform you're on, just go to the comments, ask any question that you might have. Remember, it's your life, and we'll be back shortly after the break. I never wanna leave. Yeah, I'm right where I wanna be. We got something you and me, and I can't get rid of this feeling. Just like a magnet, we're just like a magnet. The things we have can be taken for granted. Now I know that it has always been you. I can't help it, I'm so drawn to you. Just like a magnet, we're just like a magnet. The things we have can be taken for granted. Now I know that it has always been you. I can't help it, I'm so drawn to you. Hey, I'm so drawn to you. I'm so drawn to you. Yeah. Hello, welcome back to the James Cooley Show. It's Your Life, and we're here with my guest, my friend, Dr. Micah Garko, who's also going to tell us about unmasking the silent killer. And what we're talking about initially, a bit of it is high blood pressure, heart disease, etc., and things that leads up to those things where it becomes severe if we don't take care of it, but just with a little knowledge and understanding and focus. And if you listen to this great doc here, he's going to educate us on how we could, I wouldn't say totally 100% prevent it, but some of the things that we can do so we won't be affected that much. So Doc, the title of the show is Unmasking the Silent Killer. Can you tell our viewers and listeners why you chose that topic and why is this so important to get the word out to everyone that there are things that you can do if you have high blood pressure or heart disease?
Yeah, well, thanks again for the opportunity to talk about this issue of the silent killer. It is a silent killer, Dr. Cooley. And it's referred to as it has well earned that reputation because it doesn't signal any warning signs or symptoms, especially during the early stages of development. Consequently, many people, more than a few, go undiagnosed and then become at risk for a heart attack or stroke, which, by the way, are the two leading causes of death. Globally, high blood pressure is responsible for about 19% of deaths and accounts for up to 50% of deaths caused by heart disease and stroke. While, and this is going to be surprising to some, being a leading cause of kidney disease and kidney failure. The cardiovascular system and your renal system, your kidneys, are intimately connected in an interesting way. But high blood pressure contributes to nearly 500,000 deaths annually in the US, and only about 25% of hypertensive adults in our country have it under control and well managed. The higher the blood pressure, this is important, the higher the blood pressure, the greater the likelihood of a heart attack, heart failure, stroke, and kidney-related disease. Hypertensive women are more likely to have complications during pregnancy compared to women who are not hypertensive, for example. And this is especially relevant for African Americans to know. African American men and women have a higher rate of hypertension compared to all other racial or ethnic groups, and African Americans are more likely to be hospitalized for hypertension. So those are some epidemiological facts underscoring why it's important for us to know about high blood pressure and what we can do to manage it. So, and it can be managed. You don't have to be victimized by it.
You mentioned that a lot of times that people that could be suffering from that, there is no symptoms. What are some of the ways, other than checking your blood, going to the doctor, going into Walmart or somewhere, putting your doing blood pressure checks every now and then? What are some of the other ways that a person might have signs that they could potentially have?
Yeah, that's a good question. Sometimes people with chronic high blood pressure, and they've never been to a doctor, and they've had it for a long time, and it's now advanced, will have severe headaches. Sometimes they will have a hard time focusing. They will have a hard time concentrating. They might even lose their balance, and they might have a difficult time breathing and catching their breath. And those are just some of the signs and symptoms. some, and even, they may have difficulty sleeping, for example, too. It's because it disrupts everything. High blood pressure is very stressful on the system. And so you got, stress can inspire make high blood pressure worse, and high blood pressure is stressful unto itself. So you got this, sort of vicious circle. And, it's something that it doesn't signal it. And unfortunately, one of the first signs of high blood pressure is a heart attack, because the cause for high blood pressure is oftentimes associated with atherosclerosis, which is coronary artery disease, hardening of the arteries, where the arteries have become stiffened and they're not flexible and impliable as they once were. And it takes a lot of pressure to push that blood through the artery, and the heart has to pump harder and harder and harder. And for some people, the first sign of heart disease or coronary artery disease attributable to atherosclerosis, and could be made worse by high blood pressure, is a heart attack and death. And that's not good. So you want to try to catch it early. And when you go to the doctor for regular appointments, they should, and 99% of the time they do, check your blood pressure. And you should learn what those numbers mean, by the way. So those are some of the signs in everyday life: headaches, dizziness, a hard time concentrating, maybe a little depression, a hard time breathing. Those are some signals that you might be having some cardiovascular issues generally, and high blood pressure specifically.
You had mentioned a few minutes ago some of the things that could occur if you do not control your blood pressure, high blood pressure. What are some of the other things that could potentially occur?
Heart attack, stroke. You can have an arrhythmia. The heart gets out of sync. High blood pressure, the disease process here. Why is the blood pressure high? Well, blood pressure is the degree of force of blood pushing up against the walls of the arteries caused by the heart contracting. That's what it's supposed to do. And so if the arteries are becoming occluded, meaning they're starting to plaque, you're starting to develop plaque in the arteries, and it makes the arteries harden, that makes it more difficult for the blood to course through the arteries, and you start to build up this plaque. And if you start then to have the packing gets severe, a piece of can break off, and now you have an embolism, a clot, for example, floating through the bloodstream, can go to your lungs. It can go to your carotid arteries, go to the heart. You can have a heart attack, or you can have a stroke. So that's the issue here. And atherosclerosis is the disease process. Again, hardening of the arteries. The blood pressure is high because it's hard for the blood to course through those arteries.
Wow. So you kind of did the relations when you said the kidney and the heart is inter or kind of functional together. One can cause effect on the other. Can you explain that a little bit deeper?
Sure. It turns out that high blood pressure, as I said now, is an independent risk factor for atherosclerosis, whereby the arteries serving the kidneys, as well as the heart and all the other organs in the body, become thickened and hardened and narrowed by the buildup of plaque, restricting blood flow to the kidneys. Eventually, the kidneys become damaged because of that, and it impairs what this fancy name, the renin-angiotensin-aldosterone system, the RAS system, and the ability of the kidneys to properly manage sodium and fluid levels and eliminate the wastes and excess fluids, all of which causes the blood pressure to rise. If the kidneys can't unload that fluid, right, the pressure is going to build up. As the excess buildup of the fluids increases in the blood vessels, so does the blood pressure, causing even further damage to the kidneys and thereby creating a dangerous pathophysiological cycle leading to chronic kidney disease. Typically, Dr. Cooley, if people have kidney disease, they have heart disease. And if they have heart disease, they most likely and have a good chance of having kidney disease. They're sort of inextricably connected. So it all tracks back to atherosclerosis and hardening of the arteries.
Wow. This is interesting. I see my daughter just said good stuff and benefits for my health. And yes, baby, take notes. Continue to take notes. So, hey, Doc, let's talk about the Strauss heart drops. What exactly is that?
Well, this particular product is constituted of botanicals, herbs, and it's a liquid formulation. It's what the herbalists call a tincture. It's liquid, and it's been in the marketplace over 40 years, maybe around 42 or so years, somewhere around in there. It's been around a long time. And it was developed by the Strauss family. And it really is a wonderful product because the herbs that are in it, when you take them taken in tandem, can help support the structure and function of your cardiovascular system. Now, I can't make health claims about the product. What I can do as a medical researcher and as a scientist is tell you that in that product, there are the different herbs. And I'll list a couple of them for you, and then I'll talk about what the research says about them. Garlic. Aged garlic extract is one of the primary ingredients in that product. Hawthorn fruit, European mistletoe leaf, motherwort, cayenne fruit, bilberry leaf. You talk to any reputable herbalist, and some of my colleagues are some world-class herbalists that I know, and I've learned a lot from them. These herbs are known to contribute to cardiovascular health. The research will show, for example, that aged garlic extract, not just garlic, but the garlic that's been aged through the aging process, there are hundreds, if not thousands of studies just on this compound, can decrease LDL and triglycerides, which contribute to atherosclerosis. Aged garlic extract has compounds in it, sulfur compounds, that are anticoagulant, antiplatelet aggregating. They can, in other words, help prevent and moderate plaquing. Aged garlic extract is an antioxidant. It can reduce those coronary plaques by reducing membrane calcification. I'm talking about this compound. And it counteracts bacterial, viral, and fungal infections, which increase blood pressure. So if you go on PubMed.gov, you can type in aged garlic extract, and you'll see one study after the next after another that talks about just what I said. I summarized it for you. That compound is in the heart drops. It also has hawthorn fruit. It lowers blood pressure, can decrease cholesterol, strengthen the vascular walls. European mistletoe, it also can reduce blood pressure. Motherwort, I could go on and on. You take all of those herbs and put them together, they have this sort of synergistic, wonderful effect. I'm not going to say the heart drops are going to prevent atherosclerosis. That's a medical claim. I can tell you, which I just did, what these individual compounds can do and what they're known to do in the science. Again, one study after the next after another. So I love the heart drops. I use it in my clinical practice. I know it works. And by the way, Strauss Naturals guarantees results. If you don't get the results that you want, no questions asked, no fuss, no muss, they will refund your money 100%. If you go to straussnaturals.com, you can read more about the heart drops. And by the way, there's a link there, Dr. Cooley, where it says, ask Dr. Garko. You can communicate with me there, ask me a question, make a comment. It goes to my Gmail, and I promise I'll respond to you.
Wow. Hold that thought, Doc, because we got to take a station break. But when we come back, I want to share a good news story with you because it was you that influenced me to do that. So I tell you, whichever platform that you're watching this on, all you have to do, if you want to be part of the conversation, go to the comments. Ask this great Doc any question that you might have. I promise, I get you an answer. Remember, it's your life, and we'll see you shortly after the break.
Really get a chance to know who you are. And once you know who you are, you truly know who you are, love who you are. Love who you are. You're a masterpiece. Love who you are. Love who you were born to be. Love me some me. That's what I'm talking about. When you leave high school, you gotta know today or tomorrow, hopefully today, what your plans are. Hopefully, there is no bad decision unless there is no plan. Create, collaborate, commit with confidence. Commit with what? Commit with what? And everything that you do.
Hello, I'm Dr. James J.C. Cooley from the United States of America, and I am here to just say, first of all, I'm so happy and honored to be honored to be in the Coffee Book 2023, Unified Brain Z, and the other organizations. Thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to be a part of this collection. Hello, welcome back to the James Cooley Show. It's your life, and I'm here as getting educated, and hope that you are as well by this great doc, Dr. Michael Garko. And I tell you, it's just putting it down. So hey, Doc, you was talking about when we were talking about the Strauss drops.
Yes.
Over a year ago, when you was on the show, you stressed garlic, aged garlic. I think maybe about a year and a half ago, aged garlic, and I think I kind of mentioned to you about blood pressure, a lot of other things that was happening. So I started utilizing, I went by exactly what you said, this Kalaka, age gauntlet. I have been utilizing that ever since. And I tell you, this works because I have been taking off blood pressure medicine and pretty much all type of medicine. And
Wow.
that's the power. That's just since I've been using this here, because I was on 2 different type of blood pressure medicine, and now I am not on any.
That's
And it's been
that's
that way
great.
for about 6 months now. So
That's
thank you.
great.
Yes, thank you so much. And I will be looking into the Strauss drops to get more information on that one, and might start utilizing that as well.
Sure. And I was listening during the break. I saw a clip of you speaking to an audience and in an inspired way, and you were saying to them, you find out, when you find out who you are and people find out who you are, you love yourself. You need to love yourself. I heard you saying that. And as I thought about it, that's right. And one way to love yourself is to take care of yourself and to understand that this being alive is a privilege, and to live a long life is even a greater privilege. But we are biological creatures, Dr. Cooley, and we're susceptible to disease processes. And as humans, we're susceptible to accidents. And, loving yourself and caring for yourself go hand in hand. And so this is not just about managing high blood pressure. It truly is about having another day of life. It's fine to live a long life, but you want to live a long life with quality of life. And it's very difficult to do that if you're suffering from chronic diseases. Some people are on, I don't know how many medications, 5, 6, some as many as 10, because they have so many chronic diseases at one time. They may be obese, high blood pressure, diabetes, kidney issues, Lord knows what. And that's a horrible way to live. And we all deserve, just as we should love ourselves, we should understand too, we all deserve to live a good life with quality of life. I know we all eventually walk through the valley of death. I understand that. But how you get there and when you arrive there is contingent upon how you live your life each and every day, spiritually, physically, nutritionally, psychologically, whatever way you want to talk about it. So that's my point of view. And that's how I sort of step out of that realm to talk about health, wellness, and well-being. I can talk about the chemistry, the biology, and all of that stuff, and the science. I'm all about it. But we have to understand what the context in which that all should be put. My being on your show today, my purpose is to try not to tell people what to do, but to try inspire others to think more about the privilege of having health, wellness, and well-being, and loving yourself. So thank you for your comment. You got me to thinking about that.
We got one of our listeners that got a question for you, Renee. Why do you think African Americans have more chances or more prevalent to getting high blood pressure?
That's a very complicated question. Some of it is connected to genetics, for sure. Look, it depends on what scientist you're talking to on any given day. Some will say that 60 to 70% of health and wellness is determined by diet and lifestyle, the other 30% or so by genetics. Some make it 60-40, some say 50-50. The point is, much of our destiny is in our hands in the way we live and the way we eat, but some of it is determined by genetics. And different ethnic groups have different issues relative to disease. which is a story unto itself. And so genetically, there is this predisposition for African Americans to be vulnerable to heart disease, high blood pressure in particular. That said, I remember I had a guest on my show, and he was from Alabama. No, Arkansas. He lived in Little Rock. And I was going on about how the people in the South and a lot of African Americans were having ill health and suffering. And I was upsetting to me because I knew it wasn't necessary. And I remember this guest, and he said, and in a Southern accent, which I can't imitate, he said, Dr. Garko, in the South, gravy is a beverage. And I never forgot. I never forgot that. But it made my point. It made my point that true, yes, genetics is involved, but damn it, what you're eating and how you're living is also important and could account for a lot of the variance as to why some people, and maybe African Americans, are prone. It's not to say that Caucasians and Asians and others are living a healthy life either. They're not doing so great either in what they're eating. But if you take a genetic predisposition and couple it with an unhealthy diet, that's bad news. I mean, you're sure to get sick in one way, in one form or fashion or another. So I think it's genetics plus diet. And it's ironic, isn't it, Dr. Cooley, when you look at African American athletes, the magnificence of these athletes, it's just remarkable that you have that. And at the same time, you have an ethnic group, a racial group that's susceptible to high blood pressure. It's really perplexing. But African Americans and anybody else can manage this through diet and lifestyle, eating better, sleeping better, managing stress, losing weight, exercising, keep the body moving, be reflective, have a good social network. I'm ticking these things off. I could spend a whole day talking about each one of them. But it's not just one thing. It's a lot of things together that contribute to better cardiovascular health and overall health. And it's not lost on me that a person such as yourself, you and Michelle, seem to be very spiritually oriented people. If people think that's not important, yeah, I know it's all about biology and chemistry, but believe you me, I've learned that spiritual part also contributes to health too.
It does. And you still got me with the gravy is considered a beverage.
Yeah, in the South, gravy is a beverage.
Yeah, I'm from the South, so I know exactly.
Is that? Let me ask you. I live in Florida, but is that? Do you find that to be the case? That gravy is a beverage?
I know that we in the South. I don't do that now, but put gravy on everything. I mean, gravy is just a standard portion of breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You got gravy on all of that stuff. Just give it that gravy flavor, So
yeah, and the gravy is probably made with the fat that's rendered in the fry pan, and you mix it in. You put some flour in there.
Oh yeah,
right.
Oh, yeah.
And you got, my God, I mean, you talk about clogging your arteries. My goodness. That clogs everything.
And that's why our viewers and our listeners need to pay attention to some of the things that we're going to get off into when we get back from the break that they need to be aware of to help prevent or cause even further damage to their bodies. And I know a lot of us don't want to do that because it tastes so good. But sometimes we have to, be able to adjust and get the right mindset if we want to continue to be around. So, Doc, we're going to take a station break, but we're going to come back and we're going to pick it up. And if you want to be part of this conversation, all you have to do, just go to the comments portion that, or whichever you're watching this on, ask this great doctor any question that you might have. I promise you, we'll get you an answer. It's your life, and we'll see you shortly after the break. Hello, welcome back to the James Cooley Show. It's your life, and wow, the education that Dr. Mike is giving us is so invaluable, and we're going to continue to build on that because we're going to get off into some of the things that we might want to consider to help prevent high blood pressure, heart disease, etc. And Doc, you had mentioned a couple of things prior to the break. You had mentioned exercise, diet, and mindset. I want to pick it up with that.
Okay. The question that the caller asked about why is it that African Americans are more prone to high blood pressure? I said it's genetic, and it is genetic in part. And I want to be more specific. It's because I want to share this because it's a key to what you can do. The research, when you go and really delve into this, what you find is that African Americans carry a gene that makes them more salt sensitive. They're more sensitive to salt, which increases the risk for high blood pressure. When you get too much salt in the system, it throws off the kidney. The kidneys are constantly trying to balance water and phosphorus and sodium in and out of the cells. And if you get too much salt in the system, you start to retain too much fluid, and blood pressure builds up. So African Americans carry this gene that makes them more salt sensitive. Also, and it's a key then, watch your salt intake. You don't want to be consuming 3,200 milligrams of salt a day, 3 grams. One recommendation says about 2,000 milligrams. If you can keep it down to 1,500, that's good. 1,200, 1,500. Another risk factor, and it's also interesting, Dr. Cooley, African Americans are disproportionately affected by obesity. Make no mistake about it. There's no ambiguity here. Obesity is a risk factor, not only for high blood pressure, but coronary artery disease and other chronic diseases. That is an undisputed axiomatic fact, period. You got to control and manage the weight. So that's another factor that has an impact on everybody. But again, African Americans are disproportionately affected by it. So that's critical. Stress. Managing stress is important. If you're under a lot of stress, and the stress is the fight or flight response, you're pumping out stress hormones, cortisol, for example, and epinephrine, norepinephrine, adrenaline, noradrenaline. And if you continually let that stress switch on, the blood pressure is going to go up. And when you increase the blood pressure against the arteries, against the walls of the artery, you damage that endothelium lining, and then the body wants to repair it, and then plaquing begins, which is a process that we could get into, but it's too complicated here. So managing stress is critical. Another thing that people can do, proper sleep and rest. Trust me, we evolved to sleep. I can get by with 6. I do better with 7. I do great with 8. I don't understand. Some people brag about, I only need 3 hours sleep a night. Really? What makes you so biologically different? You're only sleeping 3 hours a night because you got insomnia, man. You need to sleep. So your body can repair itself, especially your immune system. And being physically active. Truth be told, being physically active is not a good predictor for weight loss. Exercise and diet together, great predictor for weight loss. But being physically active makes other contributions to health and wellness. Again, we didn't evolve to sit on a sofa 8 hours a day, sit in the office, watch TV, sit down and eat dinner. You look at most people's lives, it's pretty sedentary. Our evolution, our biological inheritance was not contingent upon our ancient ancestors being sedentary. They were always on the move because they had to hunt and gather and stay alive. Our ancient ancestors had lots of stress, a lot of inconvenience, and scarcity. Today, we have a lot of abundance, a lot of convenience, no scarcity at all, and a lot of stress. So that's a prescription for what? All sorts of health conditions, cardiovascular disease at the top of the list, cancer, you name it, high blood pressure as well. So you can see how diet and lifestyle are implicated in taking charge of your health, especially your cardiovascular health, and managing high blood pressure.
You're absolutely right. We're down to the last 2 minutes of the show. This has been so, I tell you, educational and inspiring. And just like always, Doc, thank you so much. Doc, can you tell our viewers and listeners, how can they get in touch with you? Again, tell them how they can get that Strauss heart drop in 40 seconds or less.
Sure. Go to StraussNaturals.com. There you can learn more about the Strauss heart drops and other products that they have. They're wonderful herbal botanical formulations. There's a link there that says Ask Dr. Garko. If you ask me a question there or make a comment, it goes to my Gmail. I give you my word, I'll respond to you. And if I can't help you, I'll find somebody that can. I'm here. I gave you my mantra. I live my life mindfully, in the moment, one day at a time, with purpose, passion, and gratitude, all in a better service of others. And that's why I am so fortunate to have an opportunity to be on Dr. Cooley's show with you today. I'm here for you.
Hey, Doc, thank you so much. We got to get you back on again to keep educating our listeners and our viewers. So thank you so much. I like
Thank
to also,
you.
I like to thank Dr. Michelle Cooley for putting together another great show. Most importantly, I'd like to thank our listeners and viewers for tuning in to the James Cooley Show. It's your life. As always, I want everybody to always dream big, think big, and be big at everything you do. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. It's your life. We'll see you then.